What's up, YouTube? So, Zenless Zone Zero released 2 days ago, July 3rd, around like maybe 8 p.m. for me. I think 7 or 8 p.m. Here on the west coast of the United States. And I've been enjoying it, but I definitely think there are... It wasn't everything that I thought it would be, but I still like the game. There's a lot of people that have been saying that the game sucks, and I haven't really looked at anybody's opinions about why it sucks yet. But I have seen a lot of thumbnails floating around my recommended about the game being trash, or the game sucking, or the game not being that good. And I'm like, I want to know what people expected or why they think that the game is bad. So I want to actually start watching some people's videos and seeing why they think the game is bad. We're gonna start with Gotcha Smack, but because this is the most recent one that I've saw the thumbnail for, and it's in the front of my head to go, okay, let me see why he doesn't like the game. And then I'm gonna look at some other people to see if I can hit. Maybe I'll hit refresh a few times on my recommended and see if another one pops up. But things that I think people might not like the game for the combat, right? When you first start playing, the combat is the first thing that I can think about, right? When you first start playing the game and you're, doing combat things, it definitely feels like a mash fest, right? It feels like you're just kind of clicking one button over and over and over and over and over again, and then like sometimes you get to the point where you're like, okay, well, what causes them? Because like if you don't understand when the switch is coming, right? If you don't understand when the switch for your character is coming, and then the switch happens and you want to choose a certain character, you end up just switching into whatever character like was on your mouse button one. You'll be mashing a button, you'll be like, okay, when's the switch coming? The switch comes, and then you hit the button and it switches anyway. Or you go for a parry or something like that, and you just hit the parry button, or you hit the switch button, switches in your other character. You keep mashing, you mash something, you hold some, and then you dash out of the way, and then you mash some more, and it's like, all right, well, when does the complexity come in, right? And another thing that's very difficult for me right now is remembering everything that my team is supposed to do together. So like based on what their like W engines do and what their core passives do, right? Like you have to know what their core passives do. And you have to know, I'm sure there's probably more, but what I'm worried about is remembering what my core passives do for each one of my characters, so that I can switch accordingly, and then also remembering what my W engines do, so that I can also play around those, right? Because without paying attention to those things, you're just mashing, and it does feel kind of like monotonous at times. So what I did was I wanted a different character, because I did my pulls on my first account, right? And I got Nekomata, and I didn't want Nekomata. So that was one of the characters that I was like, I don't want this character. So I ended up getting her, and then I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do a reroll. So I did reroll, and then I ended up getting Nekomata again, and I was like, come on, man. So I was like, all right, I'll do a reroll again. So then I decided, maybe I'll just make it a speed run, right? Now, it was a very scuffed speed run. Never done speed runs before. I've never like set up a thing to do a speed run. I found the timer, and then I kind of threw together some splits by looking at my past reroll and seeing what points I can make splits, and then I just ran it again, and then I did that, and I was like, oh, I gotta rearrange some of the splits or whatever. But while I was doing this, I found that I started learning that like how to do combos with Ambi. Ambi became one of my favorite characters to play with. Also, Corrin, a character that I thought that I wouldn't really like and I wouldn't want to use, her chainsaw axe thing is really fun to use. So I ended up really liking her, and I made her part of my speed run, because part of my speed run was to get her from your prizes. what is the word that I'm looking for here? To claim Corrin from your mail was part of the speed run. And I was like, okay, so I'll claim Corrin and I'll use Corrin throughout the speed run and level them to 10 and, you know, try to get through this as fast as possible. So I did that. And while I was doing the speed run, I found that it was more fun trying to see how fast I could get through the levels, like get through the fights. I think if there was a timer like there was in Wuthering Waves, that it will put a little more pressure on people to see how fast they could finish it. Even if the timer was way more time than you needed, people would look at the timer and then be like, okay, how fast can I get through this mission? And they would base their you know, their builds around trying to make their characters do as much damage as possible, and that would be something to work towards. I think that the fact that there's no timer on the fights it kind of makes the fights feel arbitrary, because the enemies don't really do a whole lot of anything, and I'm playing on challenge mode. The enemies don't really do too much. It's like they swing a couple of times. You just kind of you're swinging at them, you're mashing, and then you're waiting for them to do something. And then the only thing you have to think about is, did they do something that was a red flash or something that was an orange flash? If it's an orange flash, you can parry it, and I'm pretty sure the red flash, you have to dodge it. You can't parry it. At least that from my understanding. So I think that's why it makes the combat feel kind of flat. One, the enemies don't really do too much swinging at you. I feel like the enemies should definitely swing at you more to give you more of a chance. And it's like, I heard Tectone talking about how it's very hard to die in this game. And I'm playing on challenge mode, and I had gotten up from my seat one time, and I was doing something, and then I looked, and I was like, oh, I'm getting hit. Oh, crap. And I came back, sat down, and like my one character was like only half dead. And I was just like, whatever. And then I just went back to doing what I was doing, and then I, you know, beat the level. And this is like, I know it's early. I know it's definitely early in the game, and I'm hoping that later in the game, the enemies become more difficult to fight, because them not swinging at you a lot in challenge mode, I think they need to swing at you a lot. I think they need to give you every chance that they possibly can for you to be using parry and dodge, and give you a meaningful reason to choose between parry and dodge. Because sometimes I don't parry and I just dodge, and I'm like, I should I just parried it? Nah, I guess it didn't really matter, right? But like, the combat is still fun. Like, it's still fun to do. One of the other things that I don't like about the game is that it feels like sometimes, I guess this is the same thing with Wuthering Waves in these story parts of the game, where there's so much talking. Like, sometimes there's just so much talking that it feels like it feels like that you're just there, like watching an anime, like you're just there watching, like, or they want it to be an anime. It just feels like you're just watching an anime, and then like eventually you get to play. I think there needs to be less talking, or there needs to be more fights in between the talking and stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know, like, it's just the story sections are too much story. It's just too much. This is not advertised as a visual novel. It's a game. It's supposed to be like a lot of combat in the game. And while there is, it's like, all right, well, there's combat, but like, look at what I'm talking about. Like check this out, right? Like, this is one of my runs from before, right? This is me playing the speed run. You can't see my camera because it's behind my regular camera. But the problem is that the enemies just do not attack you enough. Like, bosses, it's like, okay, I'm waiting for the boss to do that one swing, and then he gets stun locked. The bosses can get stun locked very easily. Sometimes they don't for some reason. Maybe I just need to look into that more. But like, then if I knew how to do it exactly, then they would always get stun locked, and then they would never be able to hit me, right? But like, they do the same like kind of swing. At least this one boss does all the time anyway, and it's just like it's kind of boring. Like, it's like me trying to figure what makes it fun for me is trying to come up with ways to do combos that do more damage, figuring out how to do the most damage so I can get through the boss as fast as I possibly can, right? That's where I think I don't want to say the game shines, but that's where I find my pleasure in playing the game, is how fast can I kill the enemies, not whether I'm going to kill them or not, or whether I'm going to beat this. You're gonna beat it. You're gonna beat it. It's just how fast can you do it? If, like I said, if there was a timer, it would put a little more pressure on, and maybe give people a little more incentive to try to do it faster than somebody else, right? Like there's plenty of people that are like, oh, I want to be competitive. Let me see if I can do it faster than the other person, right? So I think there's just lacking. There's some pressure in the combat that's just lacking, that I think is the biggest problem. And then like so much talking. But I mean, I don't think the game is trash. I just think some things need to be tweaked and some things need to be fixed, maybe added, and then, you know, it would be fine. But as a little game for like combat and then once I get past the story and you're working on building characters and coming up with combos and coming up with, you know, teams and stuff like that, I think that's where the fun is. Unfortunately, that it has to be after the story, right? Like, or it has to be when you get a whole lot of characters and when you get a bunch of W engines and when you start to understand the complexity of like how the fighting system works or how the combat system works, right? Unfortunately, but if they actually, you know, listen, if the devs listen, I think the game could be something better than it actually is right now. Like I said, I don't think the game is complete trash. It's fun to play. It's just it's lacking some of something. But what I want to do now is I want to watch Gotcha Smack's video. I know this video is already 12 minutes in, but I want to watch Gotcha Smack's video and see why he doesn't like the game. And I want to, you know, maybe in other videos I'll watch react to other, you know, players and see what they're thinking about the game and why they don't like it. So let's watch Gotcha Smack's video right now and see why he does not gel with this game. Why this system absolutely sucks in Zenless Zone Zero.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this video today, I am going to explain to you precisely why the TV system is just an inherent.
Oh, the TV system. The TV system. Okay, so he's not worried about the combat system really, I guess, right now. At least not in this video. It seems to be. Within the first 7 seconds, I'm talking about the TV system. My thoughts about the TV system before he gets started, right? Before he gets started, my thoughts about the TV system. I don't hate the TV system as much as I thought I would. I thought, at least right now, I'm still early in the game because I played through the beginning of the game 4 times before I started. 5 times before I started. I re-rolled 4 times. But I think the TV system is fine. It's this world, it's this game's open world, right? Like, it's like, okay, well, we need to go do something. We're doing something with like a little puzzle. It's not even like a puzzle that's difficult. It's not something that's, at least not the ones that I'm running through right now. There's some ones there's some things in the TV system that is giving me kind of like foreshadowing for some of the stuff to come, where you'll walk through like dangerous like TVs, or you're walking through a TV that might give you a random chance to get hurt or something like that. But I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. I thought I would just despise going through the TVs to the point where I wouldn't be able to re-roll, because I'm like, I don't want to do this over and over and over and over again. I don't want to keep going through these TV things over and over and over again. But it's not so bad. Like, it's not so bad. And I don't know, maybe I just thought that it was just a flat out puzzle. I didn't realize that you were walking around as like a bang boo inside the TV in a grid, and then like the thing changes and there's a lot of visual stuff there, and like, so I don't hate it. And it's not like, I'm not saying that I love the TV system and I can't get enough of it, but like, I don't dislike it, and I don't feel like it's in the way. The thing that is in the way, because at least the TV system is gameplay, right? At least it's playing the game. There's something there, right? The thing that gets on my nerves more than anything else is there's just so much talking. Like there's just so much talking. It doesn't make any sense. And I know like they say that, or at least Tectone, I've heard Tectone say that, you know, these games are a lot of story, and if you don't like story, then Hoyoverse games might not be for you. But like, I like everything else in the game. I just don't like the fact that there's so much talking. And I wanna know the story, and I wanna know the lore in the world. So I don't want to skip all the story, but I loosely pay attention to it. There's so much talking. I'll just put it on sometimes, hit auto, and then kind of listen to it in the background. And if something sparks my interest, I look at the TV and see what's going on and see what they're talking about, right? Pay a little bit more attention. But that's the only thing that bothers me a bunch, is the talking. It's just too much. So
Zenless Zone Zero. And before I go into the why, I want you to understand, I actually don't think the TV system is horrible. I think it has the wrong role in this game. It has a role that simply is just probably the worst role to hand that kind of system. Storytelling inside of video games is actually quite methodical, and it has to be handled with care and a meticulous nature. When you tell a story inside of a video game, what makes a video game is playing the story. When we look at Zenless Zone Zero, they've come up with a number of ways to tell a story, and they all go down to one goal in mind: to keep you engaged and connected to the story.
Okay, I do think this might not be for everybody, because like everybody might not like the TV system enough to deal with it all the time. But I'm glad that the TV system engages me enough to deal with it as much as I do. Like, well, as much as you have to in the game, right? It's like I'd rather be playing the TV system thing than just sitting there staring at the TV, or sitting there staring at my screen while they're just talking and standing side by side. I'd rather them be telling me a story within the TV system, where it's like, okay, we need to go do this, and as the TV system thing is happening, like they're talking and there's dialogue going on. I like that. I like that there's dialogue happening while you're playing something, while you're doing something. I think there needs to be more of that. I think maybe a lot of this stuff, possibly, I mean, I could be wrong, could be told even while you're doing combat. Like, you could be, because like the combat is kind of mindless, right? It's kind of mindless, or it can be kind of mindless if you actually put thought into it, and understanding what your team does, and understanding what your effects do, and your abilities and all that kind of stuff, and you're switching with intention, and you're doing things with intention, trying to kill things as fast as possible, like whatever, right? I get that, but at the very bare bones of the combat, it's pretty mindless, especially when you're starting out. That they could have you. They could be telling the story. They could be talking more during the combat sections to give you like the lore, to give you what's going on and all that, rather than putting most of it and offloading most of it onto characters sitting side by side, right? But yeah, let's continue to see what he talks about the TV system.
Story to retain your attention as much and as long as possible. In ZZZ, they developed a brilliant way of telling a story that is not only innovative and disruptive to the genre, it's also original. That is the comic book style of telling the story. I love this comic book style of telling a story. It's top-notch quality. The way they've produced the scenes is absolute gorgeous.
The comic book panels do look good. The comic book panel portions of it do look good. The thing that gets on my nerves is just when they're standing there and standing there next to each other, and then like, you know, one character gets knocked off because there's only room for 3 characters. So like, oh, Billy wants to talk, so he knocks off Anby, and then like Nekomato wants to talk, so they knock off the other character on the other side. What, you know what I mean? Like, And then or Ambi wants to talk again, but Ambi wants to talk to Billy, so Ambi knocks Nekomata off. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't care about necessarily seeing the characters. The characters are there and they're animated and they're doing stuff. But it's just like, at the end of the day, it's them just standing on the screen talking, and it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's just too much of that type of storytelling. More comic book panels, shorter moments of talking, and then combat or gameplay. There needs to be more gameplay.
And I'm able to, look forward to it each and every time it pops up on the screen. But that's not the only variable. They also have their traditional way of telling a story, which is the static background, 2 characters or 3 characters going back and forth, yapping amongst one another. Hoyoverse loves telling a story like that, and they've even kind of pioneered a way for other games to do it. Wuthering Waves now does it as well. It's kind of cringe, but it's trendy, and it worked. Then they have
Wuthering Waves storytelling pisses me off too.
Into the
a little bit.
Storytelling.
It's just too much.
Hoyoverse. And
it's
then
just too
there's
much.
one variable they added in that just
the storytelling portion.
They took a risk with it,
too
and
long
it didn't hit.
of me not playing the
TV
game.
system. Whether you know this or not, after you're done with the static background or the comic book way of the storytelling in ZZZ, the continuation of the story is playing the story, and playing the story in ZZZ is very much, whether you know it or not, the TV system. During the Nekomata arc, where you're trying to transport all those civilians out of that one little stationary area where Vision is basically trying to commit genocide on them because they don't want to pay the money to deal with the cost of living of a whole entire civilization of people. I don't want to go into the details on that, but just know during that arc, you're trying to save those civilians and prevent them from being killed by Vision. You have to put them on trains as a mission to get them out of that zone. You have to do certain things to get them out of that zone. You do that part in the TV system. Yeah. And whether Hoyoverse thought that was going to keep you engaged or not, I can tell you right now without a shadow of a doubt, 95% of the people that play this game and did that did not look at it as an engagement of the story. They looked at it as, how the hell do I get out of this system so I can continue playing the game and continue the story?
I have to say that, like, I actually like this over them just saying it, right? And I don't know, man. I just didn't feel like the TV system is that bad. Like, I was never like, yo, I need to get out of this. I always wanted to go and collect all of the things that were in the TV system, right? I wanted to make sure I got all of the rewards that were in there, because they also let you, after you're about to go and leave the TV system, they're like, oh, do you want to go back? Or at least on some of my thing, they let you go back, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to go use my coins to go unlock that door so I can get that box. And it's not like it makes you do these like one go doop doop doop. Like you could move pretty quick through the TV system, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. You know, it's fine. It's cool that you have to go do something, and it's like, it's not too difficult, right? It's not too difficult. It's not to the point where it's like, oh my god, what do I have to do next? How like that would make me want to get out of it if it was too different. Like, it was just too, excuse me, not different, it was too difficult, right? Where it was just like, all right, well, like, I literally don't want to think. Like, I'm not even gonna hold you. I like, when it comes to like puzzles in games, I don't really like puzzles in games all that much. Some stuff I'm cool with. Some games, if it's a puzzle game, like if I'm playing Tetris, sure, it's a puzzle game. I like Tetris. But like, when I'm playing a game where it's like an action game and I'm playing because I like the combat, normally I don't want to run into a puzzle, right? Like in Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man PS4, this is funny, in Spider-Man PS4, I wanted to just play through Spider-Man, right? And they have an option to turn off the arbitrary puzzles, because you'll get to a door or whatever, and then they'll have like this puzzle where you have to like link the things, or you have to make sure you get past this point and not like interrupt something. Like, it's like these really arbitrary puzzles that like hold you up, and it's like they wouldn't even be difficult to finish, but it's just like, I don't want to do them. Like, why are they there? Like, if in that situation, it's just like a roadblock it's like a roadblock made of pillows. It's like you got to get out and move the pillows out of the way, and then move going about my business. It's like it's just too easy to get through it, and then if it was too difficult, I'm like, I don't want it to be difficult. Like, you know what I mean? It's just a hindrance, right? And if the game was built around puzzles and that's what you were going to the game for, I'm down for that, right? Like if I went to play Zelda, I understand that the game has puzzles in it, right? But like, you don't play Zelda for the combat, right? You're playing Zelda because the puzzles and the dungeons, right? Like that's what you're playing Zelda for. For this game, I thought that the TV system was going to be an arbitrary puzzle that like wasn't gonna be fun. And when I heard people say that the TV system was pretty fun, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think so. And I was like, I hope they remove the TV system, or I can just do stuff where I don't need to do the TV system. But then after playing through the beginning of the game 5 times, four times in a day, I'm pretty sure I played it. It might have been 3 times in a day. I think I did it 3 times in a day, 2 times the previous day. But I played through the beginning of the game 5 times, and going through the TV system wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And I collected everything, and I didn't just zip through it and just leave and do only the things that I needed to do. I made sure I collected all the little boxes because that was part of my speed run or whatever. And I continue to play the game. I don't hate this. I don't hate the TV system. I think it engages you enough and lets you, and on top of that, my bad, and on top of that, it has enemies in it that put you into combat. So as long as I get to do combat inside the TV system, I'm cool. Now, if the TV system turned into there's no combat at all inside the TV system, then it would be probably kind of unbearable. I think it might be unbearable if there was no combat in the TV system. I think that might be what holds me over and not make the TV system so bad, because like sometimes you have to go in there, and I'm usually like in Pokemon, you know how you walk through the grass, right? You walk through the grass and you don't want to run into anything. It's that point in the game where it's just like, I just need to get through this grass, and you just try to run on the straightest line possible, shortest distance through the grass, and you don't want to bother anything, but then you walk into the grass and you get hit. Dude, maybe it will get to that point in this game for the TV system, but for right now, I'm like, oh, enemy, run into the enemy, because I get to fight with my characters. Like, that's what I want to do. So as long as you give me something that I actually want to do inside the TV system, I think that's what makes it bearable for me.
So it completely disconnects you from the story. It distracts you, and it disrupts the engagement of the story.
It didn't do that for me.
I thought about this, and I came to this epiphany
for me
by going to the video archive inside of the game. We'll get to that in a bit. But when
I've never touched the video archive.
Doing the TV system, I didn't get out of it like, oh, I'm retaining that. I was saving citizens and putting them on trains. I got out of it, and then it put me into another cutscene, and I was like, well, what the hell's going on here? When did we get here, and what the fuck just happened? All I heard was a bunch of yapping. You know what I mean? I was completely disconnected.
I was not.
To the TV system's role in this game, which, as I said, it's inherently a bad role for that.
Maybe it was because maybe it was because I played through it 5 times that I retained the information. That could be what it was. That's probably what it was. That I played through all those TV sections like 5 times. So like I retained all the information of what it was. So like it could be that though. Oh wait, my sound.
Part of storytelling, and it shouldn't be. It should be a part of a roguelike mode where you're getting buffs and going into instants and fighting enemies and stuff. I think if you change that role from that to storytelling, it would be a much more accepted system. And I'll give you some.
Okay, I do agree that if they were to change the whole TV mode to a roguelike system, and you can just go do it freely to get rewards and stuff like that, and see how far you can get, kind of like the elusive realm, right? I think that would be a good change. I would agree. But but I still don't hate it as what it's doing right now. Like, as it's being part of the story. It's probably because, like I said earlier, I don't like sitting there just staring at the screen, waiting for them to stop talking. But when I'm doing the TV system stuff, I get to be engaged with what's happening in the story, and then I also get to do combat as well inside the TV system. So, like, I think that's what makes it for me, man. That's what makes it for me.
Clear-cut examples that you pretty much cannot deny. When you're telling a story inside of God of War, as I told y'all before, what makes a video game a game is by playing the game. The player is playing the game. If you take out the play part of a game, it's no different from watching a television show. It's no different from watching a visual novel. When you're playing God of War story, after they have their methodical procedure of telling the story, which is by like listening to it as you're walking into the open world exploration, same thing with Final Fantasy VII, now you have to play the story. And I just realized this is such a significant variable that has to be handled with care, because the goal is to keep you engaged and keep you retaining what's going on. So in God of War, when you're fighting enemies and stuff, that's a way to disconnect you from the story. But to keep you secure, they have to throw some dialogues in there and some cutscenes here and there, or it's like not necessarily a visual god tier graphical cutscene, but something is occurring as you're playing the game to keep you mindful of, hey,
I agree with this, right? I agree with this, and that's why I think the TV system it does what it's supposed to do. I think it's doing what you're saying that it should be doing. I don't think the TV system disconnects you from the story. The TV system is part of the story. It might not be the best role for it, but I do think it's part of the story, and it's so much. I think it's just because I don't like sitting there staring at them do nothing on screen but yap. Like, they just be sitting on screen yapping for like 10 minutes, dog, sometimes, and it's just like, dude, can I play the game again? Like, that's the part where I'm like, can I get some gameplay here, right? So the TV system is gameplay at least, and then you have the combat, that's gameplay, right? I think they should shorten. I think it would be better if they shorten the amount of time that you got to listen to these people talk. Now, granted, they won't be able to do this for this part of the game. Maybe they could do it for the later part of the game where, you know, they update it, then they have shorter sections where they're talking, and then have, you know, a lot, maybe more of the lore and more of the dialogue and stuff like that during combat, during the TV sections, and maybe during the TV sections not take away your ability to control what you're doing the whole time. Like, for instance, in Spider-Man, this is the one thing I can think of off the top of my head, is in Spider-Man, there are times where you're dropped back into the world, right? And you have, like, somebody will call you on your phone or on your communicator or whatever as Spider-Man. He's talking to whoever, right, on the phone. And you can swing around the world and you can, you know, go do whatever you want to do. And the person in the story is going while you're traveling and traversing the world, right? And you can listen to that and also play the game, and you're like, oh, I get to do what I want to do while also listening to the story and retaining the information, right? Because if I think having too much dialogue where you're not playing the game also kind of disconnects you from the story. At least some people, maybe not everybody. Maybe some people do like sitting there watching the people talk and give them the story while they're just chilling. But like, I fall asleep, dog. Like, I be wanting to know what's going on in the story, but then they be talking for so long, and I'm like, all right, I just want to play the game again. Like, I just want to play the game. That's why I came here, to play the game. And for some people, the TV system is not playing the game. They want to combat. And then for me, the TV system is enough of gameplay with story that I can stay engaged in the story. If they had story portions, I think they do have story portions that they dialogue and stuff in the combat. But for the most part, like, it's the not. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I think I'm gonna skip everything that I can skip. Because I was like, they do have some cutscenes that are not skippable, and I'll watch those, and I'll get through the stuff a little faster. Because I want to get to the point where I'm building characters and I'm like taking them and I'm grinding and farming. That's what I want to get to. And I guess you could do that now, like without going through the story, but like I don't know, it's different from Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves, I feel like you could just run around the open world and chill and farm echoes, and it's just kind of there right in front of your face. But I don't know, man. I don't hate the TV system.
We're still playing a story, right? That doesn't exist in Zenless Zone Zero. When you go inside of these instant-based maps, there is absolutely zero immersion of a story. You're just beating up bad guys, kicking butt, and then boom, nothing happens. That's a disconnect from the story. On top of the TV system,
the combat,
TV
yes,
system in a way. I don't think they were trying to be lazy, but it is a lazy way of telling the continuation of a story. I would have much rather seen some type of visualization of saving people and putting them on trains inside of the instant-based maps, as opposed to doing that all inside of a TV system.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Perfect sense. But now I want to show you how.
But like, I guess they would do that where maybe they'll do it later. Maybe they'll do other styles of combat maps later, where there's a bunch of combat and then you have to pick up the dude and then you have to take him somewhere. But the thing that people don't like in games is escort missions. So if you have to escort these AI dudes through this area that you maybe they can like walk over to the edge of the screen or something like that, and then you fight all the enemies inside the map, and then when it's clear they're like, oh come on, let's go, we got to move to the next area, right? Maybe that can be the type of escort mission where the people you're escorting aren't really in any danger, because like the enemies won't attack them, the enemies just attack you, but they're there and they're having that interaction in the instance map. That would be cool. That would be cool.
How I even got to this answer, it was the video archive. The freaking video archive.
I've never touched that archive.
Every single scene that you've went through in the game, all contained in that one spot. The comic book story scenes, the static background story scenes, cut scenes. I'm talking about Miyabi when she dashed and darted around the map like Zenitsu Agatsuma. We know where y'all got that inspiration from. That was literally all Zenitsu Agatsuma right there. Anyways, all of that shit is in the video archive. You can watch it as many times as you want. Most importantly, you can watch all the dialogues without any distractions, any disruptions. You don't have to go through a TV system. You don't have to like play a game. You can just watch it all back to back to back. And when I was doing it, I went to the Nikamata section because I was like, let me see if I can figure out why I don't like this story. Why is it dog shit? Why did I feel like every single piece of dialogue was just bickering, yapping, shooting the shit, and I didn't know the point of it? It was because I was not able to stay immersed into the story due to all the things that were occurring in between. And when I watched it back in the video archive without disruptions and distractions, I was like, wait, what? Hold on. Why the hell am I actually keeping up with this? Why am I enjoying it? Why is it not as annoying or as like pointless as I thought it was prior to doing this? Oh, I don't have to do a TV system. Oh, I'm not playing the game, like doing all these other things that disconnect me from what's actually occurring. And that is when I had the epiphany that is the reason why it's bad. The TV system is bad. So if you can make the excuse, by the way, because yes, I did do it live on stream. You can make the excuse that, oh, well, Smack, you got disconnected because you're too busy talking to chat. Well, I talked to chat during the Honkai Star Rail story, and we had a great fucking time about the story. We were talking about many different concepts and plots during the story, got into many different debates and arguments, which proves that it's not chat or me being live that disconnects me from the story. It's however the hell they're choosing to tell the story. You get what I mean? So it's problematic, the TV system.
I think it's just because you don't like the TV system. Like just like if you don't like the TV system, that's the thing that's not going to keep you connected to the story, because it's like, I don't want to do this. And maybe you're saying the same thing, and I'm just dumb. but like, but I think it's just because you don't like the TV system. Because I don't have an issue with the TV system that I thought I would have with the TV system, and during the TV system things, I kept up with what was going on in the TV system. My problem is not wanting to stare at them talking on the screen, and that's what makes me get disconnected from it, because of the length of time that they are talking on the screen, and I'm just sitting there like, can I play? Can I play again? Do we really need to talk about whatever y'all talking about right now? Like, can we talk about that later? Can we talk about it while we're fighting? Can we talk about it? Like, if it's a plan on this is what we're gonna do, then yeah, we need to talk about that before we go into doing things. But if they're just like, I don't know, they just be yapping about some stuff sometimes. I'm just like, this is not even important. Like, it's some stuff they be saying is not even important, and they just trying to get across, I guess, the characters' like personalities and stuff like that. And I'm like, can I skip this? If I can skip this and then go back to it and watch it later, maybe that'd be the best way. But the problem is that it be so long. It took me, bro, I don't know how long to get to where I was. I don't remember how many hours I was playing on my first account before I did my pulls, because like I had the pulls, I just didn't do them because I was like, oh, maybe I should wait until I get to a certain point and then do my pulls. But I played for a bunch of hours, and then when I decided to do the reroll, my first reroll took me an hour and 15 minutes to do. And I skipped everything, but I wasn't doing it like I was speed running it, where I was like trying to make sure I was cutting off time as fast as I could. And, you know, at one point I got up from my chair and I did something else, or I went and got a snack and came back. So like technically it probably would have took me less time if I would have sat here and just done it. Then the second time I did it, the second time I did my reroll, it took me 58 minutes. And then the third time I did it, it took me, I think it was 58 minutes, and then 57 minutes. And then after that, I was really getting into the groove, and it took me 47 minutes. It took me 47 minutes to do it, with cutting everything that I could possibly cut out that I didn't listen to. Because I had already knew about it. So I felt even better doing the reroll speed run that way, because I had already listened to all the stuff up to that point, so I knew what was going on. I didn't need to listen to all the yapping going on in those sections. But now that I'm after that point, I'm scared because after that point, now I gotta listen to everything again if I want to know what's going on in the story, or I skip it, play through it, and then go back to the video section thing and then watch through it all as like if I'm watching an episode of something. Maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe that's the way to do it. Because then I can just lay down here on the floor like I'm watching an anime and just watch the whole section that I skipped. And just kind of like get caught up on what's going on. And then I'll know what's going on. But like I didn't necessarily want to do it that way, but I feel like that might be what I have to do if he's saying that you can just watch all this stuff up in like, oh, you can just watch all the stuff in the video archive. Because I didn't know what the video archive was for real. I hadn't touched it.
You have to find another way to keep us engaged in your story by playing the game. If the TV system is the only means of us playing the game while telling the story, I just don't think it's going to work out too well for you guys. I think you need to pivot, and you need to do an instance-based map that doesn't just consist of beating up bad guys, but you also have these short little scenes of the objective in mind of the storytelling that are occurring to keep people retained. Before I end this video off, I do want to go and show you guys off.
Real quick. I just thought of something. That like, because I don't think they would remove, I don't know, maybe they would remove more of the TV system, because they did say they removed a lot of it from the beta. But based on what he just said about having instance maps that have the objectives in mind that you want people to do that were in the TV system, maybe more of those things in the TV system could be made to be those instance maps that he's talking about. So like, it's like when you land on one of the hostages, or I guess they're hostages, or the guys that you're, yeah, I guess were they hostages. When you land on one of those guys that you're supposed to rescue to get to the train, right? You land on there, and then you go into that instance map, and you play through that instance map as like the escort mission to get them out to the exit, and then like you come out of that, and then you go to the next one. I don't know if that would be too much, right? I don't know if that would be too much. It would make the TV system longer, because it would make you go into an instance map more often, so you would be in the TV system situation even longer if you did that. But I don't know. Maybe they could make them where like you have exploration stuff, and then like you have combat story missions, right? So where it's like you have combat story missions, and they do some of those things that he says, where you're just going into the mission as a combat scenario and doing some of those things. But I think I don't know, man. Seeing the thing where it's like, okay, we gotta go get this cart and sit it on top of the button, so that we can and change all the track directions to get the train to come through, and then the train is gonna slow down on this thing, and then we gotta go over here, and we gotta let Nekomata out, and then we'll jump on the train, or no, we had to let it was somebody else. Oh, we had to let Corin out. We let Corin out. She went out of the exit. We jumped on the train, and then after we got to the train, they switched to the comic book thing, and you saw Nekomata throw the bamboo on top of the train, and then they dropped down in the thing. Then he did the whole comic book section part. That part was cool, because the comic book sections give you like a visual of action going on, where it's like, if they would have done it where we hopped on the train, and then they put the things where they're all standing next to each other, and she's like, oh, I threw the bamboo onto the train. It'd be like, why did y'all do this? I would be upset if they did it like that, right? But I think it's, man, I don't find the TV system that bad. I think there are other things wrong with the game. I mean, I spoke about the things that I thought were an issue with like the combat system, and the combat being a little flat. Maybe, but like I said, maybe it's coming from Wuthering Waves, but I still feel like the combat is a little flat. Like, I even went back and played Wuthering Waves today, because I was doing my dailies, and I was like, oh, it feels better it feels better to be able to parry something and not have to switch your character, right? Like, you can parry and stay on the same character, and you can switch to your character when you want to switch to your character. So like that's the other thing, where it's like you get their stun meter up, and then like you're doing combos, you get the stun meter up or whatever, and then it automatically switches your character. And then sometimes when I'm playing, I get a switch, and then I get another switch, and then I get another switch. I'm just like, why did that just happen? Sometimes I don't even know why it just happened. But then like there are some times where it's like, I don't know if switch tech is what they're talking about when they say like a character comes out, does a long-lasting attack, and then you switch, and that attack stays on the screen, and then you continue to attack the person. Nicole is good for that, because like Nicole, she would always come out, and I would do her ult or do her EX version of her special, and it would throw it out, and then I would as soon as I saw the ball, I would immediately switch. And then get in there and then be attacking on the enemy while the ball is going off, right? So like there's some stuff there, but like I think they tried to make the combat like kind of complex with how you make your team and how you use your abilities and stuff, but they wanted it also to be very, 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 very simple for like all of the super casual people that will pick this game up to play it. So they don't feel like they're not doing anything that's cool, because they're Hoyoverse, and they want all the casual players to have as much fun as possible, where super casual players might not have that much fun in Wuthering Waves, because they might think that they might think that it's lacking, because either they don't know how to do like switch tech or certain things, or switch their characters and understand when to switch their characters. When you have the game in Zenless Zone Zero switching your characters for you, when it's like, oh, you're gonna parry something, you parried it, great, now your character switched and they're doing another thing, and now it looks cool because you're switching back and forth, you're doing all this stuff, where it's like most of the time you're just kind of mashing on one button and everything is just happening for you. It's that kind of sucks. I feel like I want them to tighten that up a little bit and make it a little bit more thought inducing at the lower level than it is. But yeah, like I think later on when you start to like form a team and have specific things and how your team works, and you start playing toward that, trying to kill things faster, it gets better.
The video archive so that you can see for yourself how cool this is. I think it's really cool. And like I said, I dare say it is the biggest reason why the file size of Zenless Zone Zero is so monumental. It's because they added this amazing quality of life perk into the game. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so once you get back to your little home base, you come over here and here's the video archive. They have Faith on Story, which is the MSQ, right? And then they have Agent Stories, which I imagine this is going to be, because we're about to do, what is her name? Soldier number 11. We're about to do her main story quest. Every time you do a main story quest for any characters that are coming out in the future, this is going to be where you can go back and look at the stories. But if we go to Faith on Story, this is the MSQ. Every single chapter we've done is contained over here with this beautiful ass retro aesthetic. And what's crazy,
Phaethon sounds much better than Pathan, because that's what they keep saying. Pathan, Pathan Statham.
It is in this video archive for you to go back and watch without any distractions and any disruptions. So
I'm about to start calling him Phaethon.
Very beginning of the scene.
That sounds way better.
Let's click next.
Here's the very start, right before you hit skip. This is right before you hit skip, right before Andy comes down.
And you can look at every single thing that's occurred, right? Skip. Whatever part of the story
she comes down, you play through the thing
and watch it and then move on. I was able to come over here to the Nikomata story, and dude, watching this back without any disruptions, I cannot stress to you, way better, because I wasn't like so freaking, my mind wasn't overstimulated like doing TV systems or, you know, fighting enemies. There's just too much of a disconnection in between for me to retain what was going on. And yes, again, me being live played a bit of a role in it too as well, but that was not the main.
I also didn't stream. I streamed the first time I did it. I did stream it.
I implore you.
I don't have people in my chat to talk to, so you know what I'm saying. I mean, there was a couple of people there, but you know, I ain't no Gotcha Smack or Tectone or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Experience.
At least not yet.
That's for certain. It's certainly worth coming here and scrolling down to close quarters combat and getting another gander at this beautiful cutscene right here. I'm not gonna show it.
Oh, I was about to say, I was like, let me skip. Let me skip because I haven't seen this yet.
As many times as
I haven't seen this yet.
If you're a weeb like me, who completely loves weeb type of flashy cutscenes and edgy cutscenes like that, yeah, just go to close quarters.
I need to get on the ball because I'm definitely behind. As I've played the beginning of the game 5 times.
With the front page cover, I've come to realize all of the front page covers are going to tell you, much like a light novel. Actually, they're going to tell you that whoever's on that front page cover, it's going to be about that character, right? So I haven't done this one yet, but I already know it's going to give some more depth to the bond between the two brother and sister, as well as how they got to the roles they got to, so on and so forth. So you can look at the front page cover and see some things. Big Ben, probably gonna learn about him. Bro looks country as hell. And then the Bellabog industry people, Grace and Kaleda, right? You can get a little sneak peek, and it goes all the way up to this page, and then after that it starts back over. So holy spoilers, right? Not spoiler, more like a teaser. Here's Zuyon's chapter right here. We're eventually going to get to learning about Zuyon.
That's the character I want. That's what I'm saving up for.
That was the antagonist. A little bit. That'd be crazy if it actually ends up being Zuyon, because that agent was looking kind of fine. Let me know your thoughts down below. This is going to wrap up my video.
I'll let you know my thoughts
some good
in video form.
And context as to why you may or may not be enjoying the story as much as you could be. I genuinely think it is a TV system issue. It's in the wrong role. It needs to be more of a roguelike mode. It doesn't need to be a piece of storytelling. I think it's just, it doesn't transfer well into the storytelling atmosphere. Just check that out. You can keep it in the game, put it somewhere else. Like I said, I think it's more appropriate for roguelike.
I'm just scared I'm just scared that if they were to remove more of the TV system, that there would be less gameplay because they would just make people yap more on screens where I'm not doing anything. Please don't put any more screens of people yapping. Please, there's enough. There's enough.
Purposes than storytelling. It's just, I think it's bad. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Peace, love, and happiness. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
All right, man. Peace.